Mom, look, Mila and I are in a really delicate place right now. We're trying to figure out our living situation, and we just don't have the space for you. My own son said to me on the call. I held the phone with shaking hands, standing in what used to be my kitchen before the quake turned it into a pile of splinters and memories. My son Ryder was explaining why his homeless mother couldn't sleep on his couch. Ryder, I raised you alone after your father died. I'm asking for a few weeks until I figure something out. It's not about space, Mom. It's about privacy. We're adults trying to build our own life. There are resources for people in your situation. People in my situation. I was his mother, and I was people in his situation. But what Ryder didn't know, as he was choosing his girlfriend Mila's comfort over his mother's survival, was that this phone call was about to lead me to a love I thought I lost 50 years ago. Sometimes the people who abandon you in your darkest hour are actually doing you the biggest favor of your life. They're forcing you to remember who you were before you became small enough to fit into their selfish little world. Let me tell you how losing everything, my house, my security, and my illusions about family loyalty, led me to the life I was always meant to have. If you've ever felt thrown away by the people you sacrificed everything for, hit that subscribe button. This story is for you. Have you ever had someone you loved make you feel like you were asking for too much when all you needed was basic human decency? Drop a comment, because what happened next changed everything. My name is Scarlett, and May 15th, 2023, at 6:47 p.m., on a Tuesday in Moore, Oklahoma, changed everything I thought I knew about my life. The ground started shaking, and I knew this one was different. I'd survived 3 quakes in 38 years of living here, but this 6.8 magnitude monster lasted for 12 minutes and erased my entire world. I ran to take cover as the earth shook like something from hell itself. When the shaking stopped, my legs barely holding me up, I couldn't believe what I saw. My house, the house my late husband David and I bought in 1985, was gone. Not damaged. Gone, like it had never existed. Where my kitchen used to be, there was nothing but a concrete slab and twisted metal. Photo albums turned to pulp. David's Vietnam medals scattered across 3 counties. The antique piano I saved 3 years to buy? I found pieces embedded in my neighbor's fence 2 blocks away. 3 days later, the insurance adjuster showed up. Mrs. Patterson, with this level of destruction and the foundation compromised, your policy covers $180,000. After mortgage payoff and fees, you're looking at about $93. $93. At 67 years old, after working my entire life, after raising my son Ryder alone, my entire existence was worth $93. I sat on the concrete slab that used to be my front porch, holding 3 pathetic garbage bags of salvaged belongings, and felt more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. That's when I called Ryder, my son. Surely the successful lawyer I'd worked double shifts to put through school would help his mother in her darkest hour. I was wrong. Dead wrong. I called Ryder from the Red Cross shelter, my hands shaking as I dialed. Ryder, honey, it's Mom. The quake hit us directly. The house is completely gone and I have nowhere to go. Jesus, Mom, are you okay? Are you hurt? For 30 seconds, I thought my son still had a heart. I'm physically fine, but Ryder, I have $93 and 3 bags of clothes. I need somewhere to stay while I figure this out. The silence stretched forever. Then I heard her, Mila, his girlfriend, whispering in the background. Tell her about those extended stay motels. They're not that expensive. Mom, look, Mila and I are in a really delicate place right now. We don't have the space for additional complications. Complications? Ryder, I'm your mother. Look, maybe this is an opportunity for you to downsize, start fresh. There are senior housing programs, government assistance. I worked 3 jobs to pay for your college. I sold my wedding ring to buy your law school textbooks. And you're telling me to apply for government assistance rather than sleep on your couch? It's not about the couch, Mom. It's about boundaries. Mila and I need our privacy. We need our space to grow as a couple. Privacy. Space to grow. While his mother slept in a disaster shelter. So your answer is no. I think you'd be happier somewhere more independent, more suited to your current situation. I hung up and cried in that Red Cross shelter until I had no tears left. I finally understood that all those sacrifices meant nothing to him. That night, sitting on a cot surrounded by other Quake victims, I was going through my purse for the 100th time, trying to figure out how to make $93 last more than a week. That's when I found it. Yellowed and soft from handling, tucked behind my driver's license where it had lived for 50 years. Albert Dean, Dean Construction Company. My heart stopped. 1973. I was 17, he was 18. We were high school sweethearts, but Albert was different. He had dreams bigger than Oklahoma. The night before he left for college in Texas, we sat in his pickup truck by Miller's Pond under a sky full of stars. "Give me 4 years to build something worth coming back to," he said. "Wait for me, Scarlett. I'm gonna give you everything." He kissed me goodbye and drove away at dawn. 4 years became 5. 5 became silence. I married David Patterson because he was kind and present. Albert became a memory I buried so deep I almost forgot he existed. Almost. I kept his business card through marriage, through David's death, through 30 years of watching Ryder grow up. A piece of paper representing the biggest what-if of my life. At 67, sleeping in a disaster shelter with nowhere to go, what-ifs were all I had left. The payphone in the shelter lobby took quarters. I had exactly 8 of them. If you've ever held on to something from your past that felt too precious to throw away, hit that subscribe button because what I did next changed everything. Have you ever wondered what would have happened if you'd called someone you lost touch with years ago? Drop a comment because I was about to find out. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely dial. It was 2 a.m. and this was probably the stupidest thing I'd ever done. The phone rang once, twice. Dean Construction, emergency line. His voice was deeper, weathered by decades, but I knew it instantly. I'm looking for Albert Dean. This is probably crazy, but this is Albert. Albert, this is Scarlett. Scarlett Stevens from high school. The silence stretched so long I thought the line had gone dead. Scarlett. He said my name like a prayer, like he'd been practicing it for 50 years. Jesus Christ, Scarlett. I've been looking for you for 30 years. I started crying then. Ugly, desperate sobs that echoed through the empty shelter. I'm in trouble, Albert. I don't know why I'm calling you after all this time, but where are you? Just like that. No questions about why I disappeared, no anger about 50 years of silence. I told him everything. The quake, the insurance nightmare, Ryder's rejection, the shelter, the $93. He listened without interrupting, without judging. "I'm in Dallas," he said when I finished. "It's 3 a.m. and I'm getting in my truck right now. Don't move. I'm coming to get you." "Albert, you don't understand. I'm not the girl you remember. I'm old. I'm broke. You're Scarlett. That's all I've ever needed to know. I'll be there by dawn." The line went dead, and I sat in that payphone booth crying until the sun came up, hardly daring to believe that someone still thought I was worth a midnight rescue. Albert found me at 6:30 a.m. in the McDonald's parking lot where I'd been waiting in a borrowed car. I saw his truck pull up, a beautiful black F-250, and my heart stopped. He stepped out and 50 years disappeared. Gray hair, lines around his eyes, but the same gentle smile that made me fall in love at 16. "Hi, Scarlett." "Hi, Albert. Can I hug you?" I nodded, and when his arms went around me I felt safe for the first time since the quake started. "I'm taking you home," he said. "Albert, I can't impose." "You're not imposing. You're coming home." He loaded my 3 bags into his truck like they contained treasures and drove me away from the worst chapter of my life. "Tell me about Ryder," he said as we pulled onto the highway. He chose his privacy over his homeless mother. Albert's jaw tightened. "He said no to you?" "He said I was a complication, that I should look into government assistance." Albert was quiet for a long moment. "His loss is my miracle." Albert's home was an 8,000 square foot estate on 40 acres outside Dallas, stone and glass and wood, with gardens that belonged in fairy tales. "You built this?" I whispered. "I built everything you can see from here, the whole development. 200 homes, golf course, shopping center. But this house," he turned to look at me. "I built this house for you." "Albert, I know how that sounds. But every room, every window, I was thinking about what you'd love. The kitchen faces east because you always loved the morning light. The bathroom has that clawfoot tub you used to dream about. The garden has roses because you said they were the only flowers worth growing. I was crying again, but these were different tears. You didn't even know if I was alive. I hired private investigators over the years. They found you and more, married to David Patterson. I stayed away because you were happy. I was happy, I said honestly. David was a good man. He showed me through the house, and it was everything he promised. The kitchen faced east, the bathroom had that clawfoot tub, the garden was filled with roses. Albert, why didn't you ever marry? Because I never stopped loving you, and I knew if I settled for less, I'd spend my whole life wondering what would have happened if I just waited a little longer. The first week, I slept in the guest room and tried to convince myself this was temporary. Albert was patient, never pushing. He cooked breakfast every morning, introduced me to his friends as my Scarlet, like I'd always belonged. By the second week, I was helping with his books, cooking dinner together. We fell into a rhythm that felt like we'd been practicing for 50 years. Do you miss him? Albert asked one evening as we sat on the porch swing. Ryder? I miss who I thought he was. I miss believing I mattered to him. You matter to me. You've always mattered to me. Even after 50 years? Especially after 50 years. Do you know how many times people told me I was crazy for holding on to a high school love? Why did you? Because some things are worth waiting for. And you, Scarlett Stevens, were worth waiting for. By the third week, I moved into the master bedroom. Not because he asked, but because sleeping apart felt like a lie. By the sixth week, Albert was down on one knee in the rose garden with a ring he'd bought in 1975 and saved for half a century. I know we're not kids anymore, he said, his voice shaking. But I love you, Scarlett Stevens. I've loved you since I was 18 years old. I said yes before he finished asking. We planned a simple ceremony in the garden for close friends and family. I invited Ryder, not because I expected him to come, but because cutting him out completely felt like giving up the last piece of my heart. He showed up with Mila, both dressed like they were attending a society auction. Ryder had clearly done his research. He knew about Albert's company, the estate, the kind of money we were talking about. Mom, you look absolutely radiant, he said, kissing my cheek like we'd never had that devastating phone conversation 6 months earlier. Thank you for coming, Ryder. Are you kidding? I wouldn't miss this for the world. Albert seems like an incredible man. Really impressive what he's built here. There it was. Not, I'm happy you found love, or, I'm sorry I failed you. Just appreciation for Albert's impressive net worth. During the reception, I watched Ryder work the room like a networking event, introducing himself as the son to Albert's business associates, asking detailed questions about expansion plans, making casual jokes about keeping the business in the family. Albert noticed too. Your boy's got quite an interest in construction, he murmured during our first dance. He's got an interest in construction money, I replied. He's calculating his inheritance before we finished cutting the cake. If you've ever watched someone show their true colors when money got involved, hit that subscribe button because Albert was about to handle this perfectly. But tell me, have you ever had family suddenly become interested in your life when your situation improved? Drop a comment because what happened next was epic. 3 months after the wedding, Ryder's true intentions became impossible to ignore. Sunday dinners, holiday visits, random check-ins, all centered around the business, the estate, the family legacy. The breaking point came at Thanksgiving. Ryder arrived with expensive wine and a folder full of investment opportunities. I've been thinking, Ryder said over dessert, Mom's getting older, and you've built something incredible here. Have you given any thought to succession planning? Albert set down his coffee cup with deliberate precision. What exactly are you asking, Ryder? Just making sure the family business stays in the family. Stop right there. Albert's voice was quiet but steel hard. 6 months ago, your mother called you from a disaster shelter. She had $93 and 3 bags of clothes, and you told her to find an extended stay motel because you needed privacy. Ryder flushed red. That was a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding. You abandoned your mother when she needed you most, and now that she's married to someone with money, suddenly you're concerned about family legacy? You made choices, and now you want to benefit from my choices? From the life I built while dreaming about the woman you threw away like garbage? Here's what's going to happen, Albert continued. You're going to have a relationship with your mother because she's too good to cut you out completely. But if you think I'm going to reward you for abandoning her, you're dumber than you are selfish. Ryder left that night and didn't call for 3 months. Ryder finally called in March, asking if he could come talk to me. Not Albert, just me. Alone. He arrived without Mila, without investment folders, without his usual calculating demeanor. He looked smaller somehow, older. Mom, I need to say something, and I need you to let me finish. I nodded. I was wrong, not just wrong. I was cruel. You needed me, and I failed you completely. I failed as a son, as everything you tried to raise me to be. Real tears now, not the performative emotion from the wedding. I spent 30 years taking from you and calling it love. You worked yourself to death for my opportunities, and when you needed one opportunity from me, I said no because it was inconvenient. I know Albert thinks I'm here for money. 6 months ago, he would have been right. But losing Mila over this, seeing how people look at me, I realized I threw away the one person who loved me unconditionally for absolutely nothing. You did. I know. And I know sorry doesn't fix sleeping in that shelter. But I'm trying to be different, not for inheritance or money, but because you deserved a better son. I studied this man I'd raised and saw something I hadn't seen since he was small. Genuine shame. I accept your apology, I said carefully, but accepting it doesn't erase what happened. We start over, slowly, with boundaries. And Ryder, if you ever make me feel disposable again, we're done forever. He nodded. I won't. I can't. I already lost you once. Over the following year, Ryder proved his transformation was real. The visits became genuine. He asked about my happiness, my interests, my new life with Albert. He volunteered with Albert's Quake relief charity. He sent flowers on random days with notes that said, thinking of you. The relationship we built was different from what we'd had before, but it was better. Honest. Based on mutual respect instead of guilt and obligation. Albert watched this evolution with cautious hope. Think he really changed? He asked one evening as we worked in the garden together. I think he's learning to change. That's enough for now. And if he backslides? Then I have you. I have this life. I have enough happiness that I don't need his validation anymore. Albert pulled me into his arms among the roses he'd 50 years ago while dreaming of me. Did you really build all this waiting for me? Every brick, every board, every flower. I built a life big enough for you to step into whenever you were ready. If you believe real love waits and second chances can lead to beautiful endings, hit that subscribe button because this story proves losing everything can lead you to everything you were meant to have. But do you think people can truly change? Or do they just get better at hiding who they really are? Share your thoughts, because the final chapter will show you what real transformation looks like. It's been 2 years since the quake destroyed my house and led me home to Albert. 18 months since we married in a garden planted with 50-year-old hope. 1 year since Ryder and I began building something real. I wake up every morning next to the man who waited half a century for me, in a house built from an 18-year-old boy's dreams. We drink coffee on the porch and plan our days. Working in the garden, visiting construction sites, helping Quake victims rebuild their lives, the way Albert helped me rebuild mine. Ryder calls every Sunday now. Real calls, not networking sessions. He tells me about his work, asks for relationship advice, shares memories of his father David with genuine warmth. We're not what we were before, we're better. The quake took my house, my security, my illusions about family loyalty. But losing everything led me to the love that had been waiting patiently for me to come home. Ryder's rejection broke my heart, but it freed me to remember that I was worthy of better. That I deserved love that didn't come with conditions. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you clears the path to the best thing that was always meant to find you. People ask if I'm bitter about the 50 years Albert and I lost or angry at Ryder for abandoning me when I needed him most. The truth is, we needed every one of those 50 years to become the people who could build this life together. I needed to love David, raise Ryder, lose everything, and discover I could survive on my own before I could meet Albert as an equal partner instead of a rescued victim. Albert needed those years to build something of the promise he made at 18. And Ryder needed to lose me to understand what he had. The quake didn't destroy my life, it revealed it. Underneath the small existence I'd been protecting was a woman brave enough to call an old love at 2 a.m. and strong enough to build something new at 67. Real love doesn't give up after 4 years or 40. Real love builds you a house and plants you a garden and waits as long as it takes for you to find your way home. I lost everything in 12 minutes of Oklahoma shaking. And in losing everything, I found the life I was always meant to have. The quake didn't break me. It just cleared the path. If this story reminded you that it's never too late for a second chance, please subscribe. If you enjoyed this story, like, subscribe, and share with others so they can learn too. See you in our next video.